On today's Technobabble, lighting a small studio.
This is Tech No Babble, your weekly source for church video and graphics news, perspectives, tips, and tricks. And now here's your host, Paul Clifford.
Hi, and welcome again to another episode of Technobabble. This is the show where every week we talk all about using video and graphic design in the church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host. I'd love for you to join in the conversation, leave your questions, feedback, that sort of thing. So just go below the video, right down there, and you can leave your questions, comments, etc. in the comments section below. If you're listening to the audio, which I love you too, because the audio show is coming up on 10 years. I started this show back in July of 2005. If you're listening to the audio, just drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com. So let's talk about lighting for a small studio. Right now, I am not using my light kit. I have a light kit, but I tend not to use it because it's very hot. And the lamps in it, kind of expensive. So when I'm up against my white muslin wall, maybe I'll use it. But typically for shows like this, I just don't. So what I'm actually using is a couple of these guys. These are compact fluorescents. You might think of them as the squiggly light bulbs. And the thing to remember about these, although they're not all that expensive anymore, they do have mercury in them, so you're supposed to dispose of them properly. They are much more efficient than incandescent light bulbs that you grew up with, but they can have a range of color temperatures. So you want to make sure that you match all of the light bulbs together so that you don't have one that's daylight balanced and one that's incandescent balanced. Because, well, if you're going for that look, that's one thing. If you're accidentally doing it, that's something totally different. So you might have seen this where you have a fixture with two light bulbs in it and one of them looks kind of orange compared to the other, or the other one looks kind of blue compared to the others. That's what we're talking about. So despite the fact that our eyes white balance natively, it's all in the firmware of our brains, cameras not so much, which is actually part of the whole blue and gold, white and black dress controversy is white balance. Okay, so that is a compact fluorescent bulb. I've already mentioned the incandescent. The incandescent is a stalwart in lighting. They're very inexpensive. Good. They get really hot because they're not very efficient. Bad. So that's the thing to keep in mind. Generally speaking, they tend to be on the warmer side of the color spectrum, 2700 Kelvin, although you can get them more cool. Closer to 5600, which is what the sun is. The other main lighting technology that's just recently come up is LED. Now normally this guy lights my back. This is my backlight. But I only have the one LED bulb because they're kind of expensive. I actually got this one because of my clout score. They volunteered to send it to me. And I really like it because, one, it's got a really long life. Two, it's very cool. So I actually had this on and I just grabbed it and took it out because it's so cool. Same thing that I can do with the compact fluorescent. Can't really do it with a incandescent. You can kind of try, but it's just not particularly fun. You kind of have to turn it, let your hand cool down, turn it, let your hand cool down, and if it's precariously in a ceiling fan or something, no good. So those are most of the lights, but there's another kind, and that is the halogen work light. The halogen work light is actually, it had its beginnings in the film industry. They called them quartz lights. You might be familiar with that. That's because they've got some quartz in them, but they also have halogen gas. So that's kind of the difference there. These put out a whole lot of light, also very inefficient, so they also get very hot. A halogen work light is actually a very similar technology to a lot of light kits, like my Lowell light kit that I use very often. So that's the lighting technologies, but there's also another piece of the puzzle you need to keep in mind, and that is the fixtures. So for my backlight, if I move out of the way, you'll see a glowing sphere of hotness back there. It's just a regular desk lamp, really. It's nothing special about it. I've removed the lampshade so that you don't see the lampshade, which I have here. You can see it's a pastoral theme. If you're listening to the audio, there is in fact a cow on this lampshade. So very interesting lampshade. Not going to use it at all for lighting for my video. My fill light is one of those hardware store clamp lights that you can get for around $10, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. Those kinds of places have them, and so that's what I'm using with the compact fluorescent bulb. The one behind me is an incandescent today, although normally it's the LED. And off to the side, I have a softbox. Now, a softbox is normally not a particularly frugal option, but in this case it is. The one that I got from Amazon was, I think, around $10, and I had to do a little work to make it work. I'd originally intended on using it with one of the fixtures from my light kit, but that fixture gets so hot that it just started to melt. So I turned it off immediately and went for plan B, which is a compact fluorescent. Actually, two compact fluorescents. So that's why it's my key light. I've got two compact fluorescents in it. My fill light has one compact fluorescent, and my backlight has one incandescent today. Normally it's one LED. So that is kind of the budget way of doing lighting. You have 3-point lighting, but you use what you've got to get the best lighting that you can. In fact, as I turn my glasses, if you're watching the video, you can actually see the reflection of my key light in my glasses. So that will give you kind of a feel of what we're dealing with. So I hope that helped you. I hope that that's something that you can use as you're shooting videos in your church when you really don't have the budget you need to get the lighting that really makes it look better. If you like this content, don't forget, you can get my free newsletter by heading over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts, GIFTS, and there I've got some video ideas and tutorials and other fun stuff that you can get, including a list of some of my favorite ProPresenter tricks. Just something if you're into live church video production. And you also get first knowledge of some of the things that I'm doing next and some of the things that will help you and your church go out and change eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.